Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. Appreciate for the opportunity to present here at a REIA virtual conference. So my presentation today will mainly focus on the supply chain now and tomorrow globally on the rare earth industry. Focus China first, but also the rest of the world. So how the upstream, downstream go as transition developments move on across the long value chain. So let's take a very quick overview of the general picture. So where are the rare earths produced? So the upper pie chart here represents the geographic distribution of rare earths at the initial extractions of ore through to the production to mineral concentrates. Obviously, China dominates, representing 54% global mine production in 2021. And the chart here, down here, is the refined rare earth production, which mixed or separate rare earth compounds as produced, in which China has an even greater percentage of global supply at 85% of total output in 2021. So outside of China market, the mine supply of rare earths is notably more geographically dispersed than refined supply. So mine production, I'm sure everyone aware of that. In Australia, related to liners or their Mount Weld operation, in addition to production of monozyte mineral concentrate by Iluka, also production in Northern America related to output from Mountain Pass by the MP material. Also, the Russian, Indian also produce notable mine output of rare earth concentrate processed to refine products domestically, while there's also some other heavy mineral sand operations in Africa. But the influence of non-Chinese rare earth miners has increased significantly in recent years, particularly with the Mountain Pass contribution ramping up quite quickly, and now represent 46% of output compared with like 10% back in 2015. So China is another scenario. Let's take a closer look at it. So China, as I believe many of you are aware that is rare earth industry is essentially a state-owned enterprises controlled market with 6 SOEs restructured the whole deposits and refined picture since 2014. And we see the northern China, we usually refers to the northern Inner Mongolia, which with the Bayan Obo mine, the largest deposits globally, which represent like over 30% of mine supply in 2021, and notably from Sichuan province with the Maoniuping mine owned by GCC's the China Southern Rare Earths Group as well, and the Dalucao mine, which coming from the deposits by the Shenghe Resources, and also in decent increase from Weishanhu mine deposits, which is located in Shandong province. So for these 3 provinces, mainly bastnäsite deposits, we will call that LRE output from northern China, while the southern China mainly are the iron adsorbed clay IAC deposits, which across 6 different provinces across southern China, and the deposits owned by 5 different SOEs. So Minmetals, Shinako, Guangdong, Guangsheng Group, Xiamen Tungsten, and also CSRE, so which is the China Southern Rare Earths. If we take a further look at the supply chart, we will find that the LRE and HRE production in divergence in the more recent years. The quota assigned to the Chinese mine quota in divergence. So from Inner Mongolia, Sichuan, Shandong, which the LRE attributed more than 85% of the mine products according to the quota, while the HRE is only 15%. The reason for that, we believe that the output of the HRE from southern China is actually the refined are running far below the capacities. Not mention that only very few operations stay running. And we know that the Jiangxi IAC mines remaining in suspension since 2016, so already 5 years suspension since then. And a number of other projects in development at a slow pace in Hunan, Guangdong, and Guangxi, but they all running at a very slow pace due to different reasons. Some are stuck at their mining license or safety issue problems, not mention that illegal resources being significantly reduced. That's all lead the HRE's refined plants running far below the capacities. We believe that the reason for that is mainly because the legislation restraint. With a quota assigned on HREs that barely increase, crackdown illegals, but also resources tax higher on IAC deposits, which is actually twice or third times higher than the basin side deposits. Most importantly, the environmental legislation. The IAC deposits constrained by the mining technology and the improvement and assessment. There are constant efforts on the reassumptions of the IAC deposits going on over the last 5 years. Lots of pilot testing, study, production lines were implemented, but there's no sign of reassumptions to the IAC deposits yet in southern China. The left-hand side here, the orange bar is the assumed, we assume the output from the SOEs of HREs, but actually the green bars as the real kind of output. We believe that 50% of the domestic feedstock supply on HREs are attributed from importation, which is actually from Myanmar. And if you compare this chart here, from just between 2016 to 2020, the import of RE compounds from Myanmar has been increased 7-fold, from 5,000 tons per year to more than 35,000 tons per year, which has grown seven times, which aligns with the time that Chinese government cracked down on illegal mines, is particularly on the IAC deposits in southern China. So the IAC from Myanmar has become a key substitution to southern Chinese deposits as a result of similarities between the deposits in the two areas. So RE sourced from the Myanmar has been an important source of feedstock as Chinese processors look to meet growing demand for heavy rare earths. However, I believe you're all aware that the border has been closed just in July 2021 due to the outbreak of COVID-19 in Myanmar, and which suggesting there's unlikely any chance of reopen across the border in the short term, which the closure of the border actually directly results two consequences. One is there's any chemical or auxiliary can be shipped from China to Myanmar, which means that there is no dredging or mining can be undergoing in Myanmar side. On the other side, in China, actually there are none of RE compounds have been shipped into China till now. So all Chinese SOEs, except from those concentrated on the light rare earths, who become mostly reliant on Myanmar source over the last 5 years, and now all face supply chain risks with very few alternative suppliers of HRE resources. And so as a result, we estimate significant disruptions in 2021. And as we mentioned, a few alternatives for HRE's supply ex-China. From Roskill study, that's less than 25 of the developing projects are primarily targeting on HREs. And even when you're targeting on HRE dominant project, you still produce a suite of REs, and NdPr is more naturally abundant, as you are aware of that. Yeah. Okay, apart from HREs, there's another positive option, which is monozyge. And monozyge, as we commonly mined as a byproduct from heavy mineral sand operations, and act as an important and growing source of rare earth feedstock. Production and processing of monozyge concentrate has grown significantly in the recent years. And Roskill believes that monozyge-derived rare earth production has becoming an opportunity for the growth in the future, not only because that is an a significant source of material globally, but also a monazite typically offers greater content by weight of Nd, Pr, and heavy rares such as dysprosium, terbium, when you compare to the bastnasite type deposits. So the projects include in the rest of the world, including like the energy fields, a few new projects, which may be the only heavy mineral sand source derived supply chain operate outside of China. Similar operations like the Medallions Resources, which we've got their operations under assessment, and also the West Australia Iluka operations. And China, on the other scenario, source this resources by classified by different grade, and more a consensus recognition is for the heavy mineral sand, usually refers to the TREO between 1% to 2% to 20%, and the standard monazite feedstock, which means a TREO to 60%. And as all the material typically processed in China, or the monazite separate for subsequent rare earth processing, but also within China, that's kind of challenges surroundings have to handle due to the radioactive problem. And as Chinese side, government also highly attention to that, and with a quite a strict threshold. And till now, only very few SOEs who have the exclusive rights are getting to touch the business, and most the other private players have to only treat it or import it on the low grade, so the heavy mineral sand resources. And we find that integrations have already began, and the cooperations between the SOEs and some key rare earth market players, private market players, to set up joint venture company to circulating and bring more monazite, various heavy mineral sand to be treated in a more qualified smelters in China. The right-hand side chart here shows the monazite mineral sand is backed to rise at a CAGR of 15% per year from 2021 to 2025. However, you can see that from the graph on the right-hand side here, the production plateaus in the middle of the output period. This is because there is a lack of developing projects due to come online in the second half of the output period. But production could increase as a project developed continues. So a common mate here across this space as that projects become increasingly integrated, and this offers a potential opportunity for major heavy mineral sand producers in the rest of the world to enter the market if the conditions and demand enabled it. So kind of part of the supply, I would highlight some unique developments and transitions in China, which stand out from the rest of the world. The first was the market, the magnet. Under the strong demand expectations, I believe you all heard that, and you heard massive expansion news, projects underway. And in China, particularly, I would say that's two trends in particular. One is the new capacities adhering with orders. So the expansions are driven mostly by strong demand, new EVs or wind turbines, all kinds of things. But the orders, which is actually to the expansion capacities, is all locked in orders over the next 3 to 5 years, some to even 10 years, as we found. So magnetic facilitated with specified production lines on tailoring magnet projects. The other trend is the technique upgrade with the facility equipment upgrade towards on high performance NdFeB. So lots of them with more new facilities, quite high costed GBD tech facilities, large scaled, and which means also a less HRE use in the future trend. So if you see this right chart list, which shows the commitment projects, just compare 2020 to 2025. Just between these 5 years, you easily, if we from the top 13 kind of magnet producers here, you easily find that's more than 100,000 new added capacities underway, which including the top producers like GL Mag, Shoudu Capital, Shougang Magnets, Zhenghai Magnets, or some others, which all had their projects commitment during this period. For example, like GL Mag, they have massive tailoring production line for the 3C field, also for the new EVs, and also they particularly heading on the high performance GDB line, and with a big expansion. So apart from this magnets side, but also we see that's a very quick accelerating layout on secondary. So apart from primary, we see the secondary. And secondary in China, we also see a very big accelerating changes as the Chinese becoming more centralized since 2019-2020, with more projects gathered in Jiangxi, Shandong, and also Jiangsu provinces, with total capacity we assume more than 300,000 tons. And the accelerating secondary layout is as a result of a stringent rare earth oxide supply, as we assumed. But also there are a couple of other reasons for that. First, Chinese government do not allow to set up new separation plants, and many spare capacities which were unable to put into use due to lack of feedstock in southern China has now, as a result, many of the separation plants owners upgrade their original lines, but focus only on the secondary recovery instead. Needless to say that secondary industry is more environment friendly and supported by the policy. And we see that new capacity is ramping up quite quickly in 2021, and also a number of new projects aim to commissioning this year and next year. And also we see a lot of listed companies take over key secondary producers to trying to more integrated, involved in the industry. But also you see the capacity expansion on average, the top kind of big secondary producers like in Shandong with a unit of their project over 20,000 tons per year, and an average expansion construction now is around like 2,500 to 3,000 tons per year, while if you compare the old time capacity, which a lot of them centralized like 300 to 500 tons per year each, so which is also kind of big changes. As for the source for the secondary in China, I would say that's mostly from swarf. So many of them are magnets off-cuttings, and also there are slags from metals or slurry from machining, separation or from solvent extraction lines, and a small part or share are coming from destructive disassembly line. And for the end of life recycled, I would say that's still a very early age in China, but we be heard that there's some like wind turbines are for the very initial generation now become maybe to be recycled. We are trying to keep a tight close on that. I'm sure that you will find more answers or in a following discussion, panel discussion later on here. I will just move on to a more resilient chain in China. So bit of kind of comments made here. So you see that China RE industry towards a more vertical integration from downstream to upstream in light of massive investment integrations across the value chain. So you see the magnetic producer extension their line to downstream, they getting in the motor manufacture as well. And you see the cooperation between the metals, magnet recycling, trying to secure their raw materials and the feedstock. And also you see the expansion, the capacities across the whole value chain from magnets, metals to rare earth oxides, and also separation producers seek REO, but by engaged in the secondary recycling industry. However, low availability of rare earths from China highlights the case of project developers globally who may provide alternative sources. These operations continue to be restricted by consumer market size outside of China. So finally, just a very quick kind of forecast to the mine supply and refined supply from Roskill view. Mine supply of rare earths in 2021 is expected to total 230,000 tons. REO, largely from Chinese and manganese operations. And in the period to 2030, rare earth mine supply forecast to increase by 1.58% per year. But much of this growth occurring within Australia, with additional production in Africa and Europe, including Russia. And some of this production is expected to be integrated through to the production of refined rare earth products, though a notable portion is expected to be marked as mineral concentrate projects. Chinese production is expected to fall further to 47% of global mine production in 2030, as projects are developed in other territories, with global mine supply reaching 265,000 tons REO by 2030. And if we see the refined picture, that looks relatively similar in terms of growth expectations, with overall refined production reaching 250 REO by 2030, compared to currently 185 REO in 2021. But the main difference is a greater proportion of the global refined supply, which China is expected to retain if you compare the production of rare earths in the period of 2030. So Chinese production is forecast to fall from 84% in 2021 to 68% in 2030. This is expected to allow China to maintain a strong control over the global rare earths industry, though the development of some rare earths processing in North America, Australia will provide alternative supplies of key rare earth products to these regions, which have raised some concerns over the reliance on Chinese sourced material. So thank you very much.